long as you can't see me too, I'm going to give you the okay to start the live. And then from there, First Lady just count down to about 20. You'll kick it off and start the conversation. And good luck.
Wait, Shannon?
Shannon, you broke up for a second.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, Donnel, so I don't know if we'll really get to say a proper goodbye in the end of this, but you know how to find me. Look forward to seeing you.
Okay.
Thanks
I will find you. Thank you.
Okay, Shannon, give us the thumbs up when I start counting.
I think you can start now.
Okay. Okay, well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. This past Monday marked the beginning of National Infrastructure Week. Here in New Jersey, we are thrilled to participate and share our vision for the future of our state. Our administration shares President Biden's view that investing in our nation's infrastructure is an opportunity to do more than just fix our roads and bridges. It's an opportunity to create jobs, wealth, equity, health, and a stronger and fairer New Jersey for everyone. These are the beliefs and values behind our administration's climate agenda and the creation of our newly formed Council on the Green Economy, of which I have the honor and privilege of chairing. And our guest today, Donnel Baird, is an essential member. In addition to serving on our council, Donnel and I both served together with former Vice President Al Gore, supporting his great work on climate change. And as his, quote, day job, Donnel is the founder and CEO of BlocPower, a climate technology startup focused both on retrofitting buildings in disadvantaged communities with green technology, and also in ensuring local workers, businesses, and economies benefit from the building improvements. So welcome, Donnel, and thank you so much for joining me to discuss the intersection of some of our shared passions.
I am so excited to be here with you. And, thanks so much for your leadership on climate and your expertise. And I'm looking forward to learning from you today.
Well, same back at you. So we have so much to cover, so I'm going to jump right in. Could you tell us a little bit about your background and from where your passion for green buildings comes?
Yeah. So thanks for the question. I grew up in a low-income immigrant neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York, in Bedford, Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, central Brooklyn. We did not have much money, and the heating system in our apartment never worked. And so we would heat our apartment with our oven. We would turn the oven on and open up the oven door, and then we would open up all the windows in the apartment to release the carbon monoxide. And that's how we and our neighbors and my cousins who lived upstairs all heated our apartments. And some of my best friends today, heated their apartment buildings the same way when they were growing up in Brooklyn. And so early on, I was exposed to the intersection of health and public health and a lack of access to reliable energy and the need for cleaner energy. And it just so happened that as I got older, worked for the Obama campaign and then the Obama administration as a consultant, started to learn about green buildings policy and the opportunity to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, create millions of jobs, move America away from foreign oil. All of that could be accomplished by greening buildings while making them healthier. And so that's when green buildings became a passion for me.
Wow, that is a story. Thank you. It is so important for us to have the voices guiding our council who are personally invested and passionate about climate action, particularly in communities that have been historically underserved. So thank you so much. Listen, you have really transformed the way. Not only are buildings more valuable because of upgrades, but you are also saving the building owners and tenants money. I know you figured out that the key to sustainable operation was private funding. Can you talk through BlocPower's business model?
Sure. So BlocPower, we want to make it easy for building owners in New Jersey and across the country. We want it to be easy for them to decarbonize, right? We're saying that we're turning the buildings into a Tesla. We're making it all electric. We're making it green. We're making it smarter. We're connecting that building to the internet. We're making it more valuable. We're saving money by reducing expenses, which are being wasted on unhealthy fossil fuels. And so what we've done is build software to help analyze all of the buildings. So every building that's not a skyscraper, we've built a software tool that allows a building owner to fill out a short quiz and learn about the next steps they can take to decarbonize their building. Then we've arranged a financing facility with Goldman Sachs through their urban investment group to lend capital or lease green equipment, the electric heat pumps that allow us to decarbonize buildings 100%. We can lease that equipment so that it's affordable for low-income homeowners who may not have $100,000 or $1 million lying around to install this equipment in their apartment building. So we analyze the building, we lease the equipment and finance it, and then we project manage the proper installation and maintenance of that equipment over 15 years. And ideally, we're saving the building so much money from reducing their fossil fuel consumption that they're able to use those savings to pay for the cost of the lease and the equipment over time. So that's what we do. That's our business model.
Wow, that's really impressive. I mean, we're all going to want to have you taking your technology and bringing it to our homes. Listen, I have a follow-up question. You hit a major funding milestone with the 60 million in investment and are now crowdsourcing. How does BlocPower intend to carry forward this innovative funding and continue to grow the company?
So we know that, and First Lady Murphy, you know better than most. I mean, public-private partnerships are going to be fundamental to the way that we move forward and reduce greenhouse gas emissions at scale. Infrastructure is no longer this like centralized, top-down, fossil fuel-based infrastructure. It's going to be decentralized. It's going to be located in communities and in homes in a distributed fashion. And so we must have buy-in from the communities where our smart, green, modern infrastructure is going to be located, whether it's in people's homes or schools or libraries or neighborhoods. And so our view is we want neighbors to be able to invest in helping to fund the infrastructure that's available in their community. So we want people who are in Montclair, maybe they've decarbonized their home, but they want to help a family in Newark to decarbonize their home or school. Well, we want that family to be able to invest and make 5, 6, 7% return, just like Goldman Sachs, by investing in greening buildings in their community. And so we've been crowdfunding to allow regular citizens across New Jersey, across New York, Connecticut, and across the country to invest in greening buildings in their neighborhood. So we think that's really important. We need to have Goldman Sachs at the table. We need to have our labor unions and our synagogues and churches and mosques at the table from the civic sector. We need great policy from the Murphy administration, which you all are leading and which we're talking about on our task force. But we also must have that community participation, whether it's financially, whether it's showing up to meetings. We need that participation from all sectors of the society. And so what we're trying to do is give everyone a way in to these green building transactions. And so crowdfunding is a part of that. And we're super excited to have raised $1 million so far, because it comes from regular people trying to help their neighbors to go green.
Just the best. I'm nothing else I can say. I'm so excited to see this initiative continue to grow. I think we would agree that over the past 5 to 10 years, the world has seen major advancements in energy technologies and software techniques. For example, machine learning. I'm wondering, how has BlocPower transformed its practices?
So, I mean, I don't know if when we used to think about energy efficiency and what it takes to analyze a building. We know that if you have 2 buildings next to one another in Summit, New Jersey, where I live, they're built by the same developer, same material, same blueprints. After 30 years, the fossil fuel usage of those buildings will have changed according to the maintenance, behavior, preferences and habits of the homeowner. And so you'll have two neighbors in the identical building, and you put organic insulation in both buildings. And in the first building, you save 11% on fossil fuel emissions. And in the second building, the organic insulation traps carbon monoxide and kills everybody. So we know that we have to have accurate building by building assessments in order to properly analyze and prescribe the correct energy equipment for all of our buildings across the state. That has been a manual process where sometimes you'd have a green buildings analyst show up with a smoke signal, a smoke pen, right? And he'll walk into the governor's mansion and release a plume of smoke and then see which way the wind blows the smoke to figure out where your room or your building is leaking air, and then start to do an analysis in a spreadsheet for 6 weeks. So what we've focused on, and we weren't smart enough to figure it out ourselves, but our investors from Silicon Valley really coached us up on the fact that we have mobile computing now, we have cloud computing, and we have machine learning. They're all dirt cheap. We have the fact that you can have tiny microcomputers for $20 that collect data on temperature, humidity, pressure, that all of the solar panels and all the electric equipment that we're installing in our buildings to help us go all green, this equipment has data that it can communicate via the cloud. So how do you take all of that data and the ability to run pattern recognition through machine learning at almost no cost to replace the kind of hyper manual assessments that need to be done on a building by building basis, so that every homeowner in New Jersey can get a robust, investment grade, healthy, green building scope of work that can give them a specific path to decarbonizing their individual building or their kid's school or their synagogue. So that's what the computer software allows us to do.
Listen, that is so great. There are so many incredible ways technology is being used to creatively solve problems and overcome obstacles we would have considered impossible not too long ago. It's really exciting. And I have to say, I suspect you could do a lot of work at the governor's mansion. We're doing some basic things, but I suspect if you've got your hands on it, you'd have a couple of ideas for us. All right. So
we'll take a look.
Okay, now I want to change gears a little bit. As you know, our administration is focused on enacting climate policies that are aligned with our social and environmental justice values. Critical to your mission is the employment of people of color from the very neighborhoods you aim to green. So how does BlocPower recruit and train these folks?
Well, we believe, again, that in order to have climate solutions at the scale that you and I both know we so desperately need, we must have homeowners and communities not be like a side thought. They have to be our top priority. And one of the things that we know is that we got this huge unemployment crisis. And so we have to meet our community's needs and create jobs to help make sure that families can put food on the table. And when we do that, it's easier for us to talk to them about climate change and climate politics because we've met their baseline needs. So we believe job creation and job training is fundamental. What's interesting is the ability to decarbonize a building and take it 100% off of fossil fuels is a relatively new technology. We can only, really start to do it in the last 4 or 5 years. And so it's going to require a new workforce. And that gives us an opportunity to train people from disadvantaged backgrounds or from vulnerable backgrounds to help them participate in the jobs of the future, going building to building and decarbonizing buildings and moving them off of fossil fuels. So we think it's critical to train and hire people from vulnerable communities, not only because it's the right thing to do, like ethically and morally, and it's just, but because it helps to build the kind of policy coalition that's broad-based, that includes all communities across New Jersey. And we know that's what we're going to need in order to get the smart green infrastructure at scale that's required.
Hey, Donnel, just give me one example. Like if you are going to do a building in Newark, how do you actually literally find those people who you want to bring on and train, and how long does that training take?
Churches and synagogues. We believe in using communities of faith that have the moral imperative, that have the institutional base, that have a community. We're doing some projects in Jersey City right now. So we got a group of churches in Jersey City. Not only we're going to decarbonize the church, but they're members of the church that have a nephew or a niece that were incarcerated. They're back out now. They've paid their debt to society and they're looking for work. But not only are they looking for work, they're ready to turn their life around. They're ready to commit. They're ready to show up on time. They're ready to work twice as hard as someone else because they know that it's hard to find work when you're an ex-offender. And so we asked the pastor or the rabbi at that church to take responsibility for that worker, that ex-offender who wants to turn their life around and get trained. We introduced the religious leader and the trainee to one of our manufacturing partners at Mitsubishi or Daycon. There's some companies out of Europe that we partner with, and we want to make these companies all American. So we got to talk about that. And these manufacturing partners who are selling us the all electric equipment, they are willing to train all of our workers for us. So they train our workers, they certify them, and then they supervise them when we put them on the job. So now, if we're going to green a bunch of churches in Jersey City, we're training and hiring people from the community of those churches to actually participate in greening those churches. And the manufacturers of the equipment that we are installing are partnering with us to train and supervise those workers on the job. So that's how we do that.
I'm so not surprised. I mean, that is the communities of faith across our state have been the backbone of a lot of the work that we have done through my office and through the administration. And that's just brilliant. So good for you. You know,
these
Phil,
folks need a community, right? They need to be connected to something larger, and communities of faith provide that. So that's where we base our work. So it's great to hear that we're in line with your thinking on that.
100%, literally. Yeah. So Phil often says we can both do good and do well. And, at the same time, and clearly you and I both agree with that sentiment. So yeah, it's great. So one policy initiative that I am incredibly proud of is that New Jersey is the very first and so far only state in the nation to incorporate climate change education across our K-12 learning standards. Will or does BlocPower conduct any K-12 outreach? And if so, what are you doing as we want to tap into it?
Well, I want to talk to you about this. First of all, I am so excited to have learned about this policy. My son Nash, he's 5 years old. He's wrapping up kindergarten, barely. He's muddling his way through it. He's learning remotely out here in Summit, New Jersey. But even though he's learning remotely, he's learned how to add. I mean, me and his mom, we didn't teach him. His wonderful teacher, Miss Chambers, somehow figured out how to teach him remotely, how to add, which is amazing tribute to the teachers in New Jersey. But this climate curriculum that you all have as a policy is just amazing. We think that schools are the other kind of backbone of communities that really need to be deeply engaged in the climate movement. For one thing, in certain parts of the country, schools need to be massively upgraded so that the air quality in the building is conducive to learning. There's all kinds of academic data coming out that if the air quality in a school is not great, it impairs students' ability to retain information. And so the infrastructure of schools relates to academic performance via air quality. And of course, you can improve air quality when you remove fossil fuel buildings from schools. So now you have an opportunity to educate teachers, students, parents about the opportunities to improve air quality and reduce fossil fuel consumption in their school building. We worked with PBS to develop an online model where kids and their teachers can enter information from their school on their fossil fuel energy usage and get a recommendation from the PBS website about specific steps that they can take. And then BlocPower as a startup, we love working with schools and figuring out how to move school buildings to 100% electricity. And of course, as you know, kids are super alarmed about climate change and are always looking for things that they can do that are tangible to help them understand what they can do to improve greenhouse gas reduction.
Well, that is all great, and I'm definitely going to have to take note of the PBS model here, and we'll see if we can help get that out there, because I visited so many schools across New Jersey, and you're absolutely right. The students, the next generation, they're all very focused on this, and a lot of the teachers are as well. But I will also say that, you know, a lot of the teachers, understandably, haven't been educated in climate change, and so so they need all the help we can give them. But thank you. Really great. Just fantastic.
No, I'd love to see if we can do like a greenest school competition where the students are, you know, trying to figure out how to decarbonize their building and having a competition or something, and we'll help them figure out how to do it. I'd love to figure out something like that. So we're into it.
That's great. There's an organization, Sustainable New Jersey, and they go into the schools and do competitions and help them with materials and all sorts of things. And you would be absolutely amazed at what the kids are doing across the state of New Jersey, from kindergarten right up through high school. I've seen everything from little children turning their crayons into new models using solar power with aluminum foil and things.
Amazing.
To community gardens and everything. It's great. Anyway, we can talk about that.
Awesome.
But this generation of students has really been at the forefront of the climate movement, and they are one of the biggest reasons why I am really, truly so optimistic about New Jersey's future, despite the very real threats to our planet. And I am proud that our kids will be the leaders of the green economy. This may be slightly redundant, but thinking about the region again, what role does BlocPower play in clean energy job creation in New Jersey and in New York?
So when my wife and I are going house hunting in Montclair, and we're trying to win one of these bidding wars for one of these beautiful Victorian homes up there, what needs to happen with all of these homes across New Jersey and across the region is we have to go into the existing buildings and redesign the energy system and the ventilation system to have that building move 100% off of fossil fuels. So that requires electrical engineering, sometimes a little bit of plumbing, sometimes a little bit of hazardous materials to get the dirty fossil fuel equipment out of the building entirely. So there's some construction, there's some engineering, there's some electrical, there's some architecture. So there's a range of skills that are needed to decarbonize buildings. And ultimately, that's going to require a new workforce. We're not going to be able to have 7 or 8 different folks visiting one home in order to decarbonize it. We're going to need to have a construction crew that's able to do all of the work that's necessary to decarbonize each and every building across the state of New Jersey. And that is a massive job creation opportunity. We are really excited to think about kids graduating from, Montclair State or Rutgers and having some training in electrical engineering, a little bit of mechanical engineering, a little bit of, hazardous materials management, because all of those skills are going to be necessary as we decarbonize building to building to building. And so we think this is going to be a massive job creator, across the country. We think as many as 25 million jobs in building decarbonization, 5 million permanent jobs, 25 million. And so there's just going to be hundreds of thousands of jobs available for us in New Jersey as we pursue building decarbonization. And hopefully many of those jobs will be able to go to people from disadvantaged backgrounds, as well as, people who just need work.
Okay, so that was, you were reading my mind. How can we ensure diversity and inclusion as we expand all these opportunities in the clean energy space?
So I'm a firm believer in community workforce agreements and community benefits agreements. If we're going to be greening Newark, we want to make sure that we're training and hiring people from vulnerable populations in Newark to do the work. So the jobs are complicated, and they do require knowledge of some cutting edge technical skills, right? So we want to make sure that we have a cohort of people in Newark that we're getting trained by our manufacturing partners to do the work in Newark. Same thing in Trenton, same thing in Jersey City. And so I do believe that there are ways to structure public-private partnerships to ensure local workforce development and local hiring in a way that's going to work all across the state, whether it's Camden, Trenton, wherever. And so we learned some good lessons about how to do that during the Obama years. And I think we've got some new innovations that are going to allow us to do that with community workforce agreements that are tied to the use of public dollars from the state of New Jersey being invested, being tied to, cohorts of workers who come from certain zip codes and have been trained and come from certain vulnerable populations, mandated to be part of the workforce. And so there's got to be space there too, for people who are experienced and who have unfortunately been impacted due to the recession. So there's going to be a balance. But I do think there's going to be so many new jobs that are created, and there's a lack, millennials, we're not entering the construction industry, unfortunately. And so there's a lack of skilled technical workers across the state and across the country. And so by training people from vulnerable populations, ex-offenders, people who age out of foster care, I believe we can create that new workforce that we really need to get this done.
I love it. So it sounds like a supply of jobs. And I love the notion of mandating that a certain number of people come from specifically challenged areas. I think that is unbelievable. So important.
Yeah, if we could get to 30 to 40%, coming from the city of Newark to help green Newark, I think that'd be great.
Listen, so important. Thank you. The state is grateful for your participation in the Council on the Green Economy, which is going to lay the pathways for transitioning fossil fuel and other displaced jobs to clean energy jobs. How can we ensure that no one is left behind in the transition? Is it just more of what you're saying about mandating and the supply and more?
Well, I think there's one more step that we can take. And I'm grateful to the state of New Jersey for offering us the opportunity to serve along with you all and think hard about what the future green economy of New Jersey can look like. We believe in job creation. We also believe in community ownership. And so as this smart, green, decentralized infrastructure, this modern infrastructure that's going to modernize our state is being rolled out and invested in and built across the state, we would love to see, particularly in communities that have been historically disenfranchised, where there may have been a history of redlining 40 or 50 years ago, there's additional lead, there's additional asbestos, there may be additional mold that has to be remediated. And so those have some additional costs, but we would love to see some portion of that infrastructure, whether it's 3% or 5%, be owned in cooperatives that are, stock in a holding company that would own a piece of that infrastructure and that would incentivize local low-income communities to participate in the proper usage and maintenance of that infrastructure over time, because now they're community, co-owners of some of that infrastructure. And so we've been talking with the Aspen Institute and some of the folks in DC, as well as in the Biden White House, around what are the ways that we can kind of think about low-income communities co-owning some of the green or digital infrastructure that we're using to solve the digital divide, to ensure that no one's going to get left behind in the smart green infrastructure revolution that you're leading.
That is so thoughtful and helpful. I know that with any transition, there can be fear and apprehension of what may be lost. So we want to make sure that no one is left behind as we move forward. And I love the way you've considered everybody. Okay, so thank you so much for an incredibly thoughtful and enlightening conversation. Resolving the climate crisis is such a monumental task that I think it's really important to have these sorts of conversations in order to understand just what individual companies and leaders are doing to make this transition not only possible, but beneficial to our planet, our health, our economy, across every community. And that really is the impetus behind our Council on the Green Economy and our overarching environmental policies. In the past few years, we have seen an incredible shift in thinking about the climate crisis. And I believe it is incredibly important to view this as a challenge that also presents incredible opportunity. And Donnel, New Jersey is so grateful and fortunate to have you guiding us through this transition. So I thank you for being here today, as well as all of your contributions to our council on the green economy.
First Lady, we thank you so much for your leadership, and we're just delighted to work alongside you under your guidance to get this done. We're all in this together.
100%. That's the only way we're going to do this, is together. And I'm thinking through all the things that you've piqued in my mind, whether it's crowdsourcing, which is obviously fantastic, and the jobs, and just everything you're up to. It's fascinating. I think I could sit here all afternoon and talk to you. So I guess that probably wouldn't go over very well with others, probably, or with your wife or your wife or Nash. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching, and please ask that you share this video on your social media. Infrastructure Week is about the understanding how these policies and initiatives are not only relevant to all of us, but to also how they are beneficial for all of us. So with that, I thank you for your attention. I look forward to all that New Jersey will do to lead our nation in climate action. And given that there are no questions, I will say thank you, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, First Lady. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.